Are you beginning to sense the angel coming from the east? This quote continues in the second volume of the manuscripts. The house of Israel is to be imbued with the Holy Spirit and baptized with the grace of salvation. So, who and what is final Israel? They are the group of 144,000 children of Israel that received the descent of the Holy Spirit, as everyone well knows, and is causing them to walk in His statutes, which most people don't know. Aren't you glad you do? By the way, have you ever heard lectures on the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit? Do you remember what it is? Although the 144,000 maintain the name of Israel, we have to go back many centuries to see when that name was first used. All the way back to Genesis 32:28. Watch the screen. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. Therefore thou shalt be called Israel. Why would they be called Israel? Same reason you could be called Israel. Because you are as a prince and you have power with God and with men and you've prevailed. That's why. Wouldn't it be nice to know that's being said about you in the courts of heaven? But Jacob wasn't perfect. He hadn't been forced to trick his father or deceive his brother. He could have accepted the loving and kind Leah to wife. She might have bore him 12 children. With God, all things are possible. But in spite of those little rough spots, Jacob grew to be truly one of the very best representatives for God on planet Earth, just like you can become. His name was passed on down to his children, and his 12 sons developed children after them, and they became the 12 tribes of Israel, maintaining the name of Grandpa. Now, while in Egypt, they developed into a very large nation. In fact, such a large nation that it worried Pharaoh. In other words, they were getting so strong, so big, and so powerful that Pharaoh became worried. And so he made slaves of them to take care of the situation. Deuteronomy 10:22 says, thy fathers went down to Egypt with 70 persons. And now Yahweh thy Elohim hath made thee as the stars of heaven for multitude. Now those of you that have been to Bible exploration, have studied the stars with Brother Bopst or with others, you know that there are billions and billions and billions of stars out there. And while they were in Egypt, they weren't made into billions and billions and billions of people. But we can certainly see the figure of speech, mean there were many of them, literally multiplied thousands. As a nation, Israel received a charge from God. Now this is important because it made the difference between success and failure. The charge is given in Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 1. Therefore thou shalt love the Lord thy God and keep his charge and his statutes and his judgments and his commandments always. How long is God's intent? Always. Friends, always surely includes the final generation. Now there are 4 unique aspects of ancient Israel that I would like you to take note of. First, I want you to notice all the promised blessings they would receive if they be loyal and faithful. Second, for our admonition, we must see Israel's failure and why they failed. Third, God promises to recall Israel. And fourth, final Israel will be as successful as early Israel should have been. First, I want you to notice the blessings. I'm not going to read them all to you. There are 25 of them in just 9 verses. But I want you to see the abundant blessings from God should they be faithful. So we're going to start with Leviticus 26, verse 3 through 12. And here's how it goes. If you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. Sounds almost like heaven, doesn't it? And your threshing shall reach to the vintage, and the vintage to the sowing time, and ye shall eat your bread to the full, and dwell in your land safely. Skipping down a few, I will have respect unto you. Oh, friends, wouldn't it be wonderful to have God say, I respect you, and make you fruitful, and multiply you, and establish my covenant with you. Oh, we're going to be especially together forever. It just is so beautiful. He says, I will walk among you, and will be your God. Ye shall be my people. But remember how all this started. It said, if ye walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them. This was the charge for Israel always. It always was. It always will be. That's what the word always means. Take courage from that. Now the truth is, ancient Israel became divided into two nations. Judah, which included Judah and Benjamin, and Israel, which included the other 10 tribes. Actually, Israel had 3 names: Israel, Joseph, and Ephraim. You could call them by either one of those and be correct. Kind of like a person's going to Los Angeles. No, he's going to L.A. No, he's really going to the city of angels. I heard one person say they're going to Smog Hollow, whatever that means for sure. But anyways, one place with different names. So Israel, Ephraim, and Joseph became synonyms for the nation of the 10 tribes. Now, these 10 tribes of Israel were driven out of their homeland about 137 years before Judah and Benjamin were. Why? Because they were the first to negate his commandments and his statutes. And they lost out. 2 Kings 17, 8 through 20 tells us why they failed. There are S's along the way, an S in parentheses. That's the statute they were breaking. And C, when you see that in parentheses, that means it was a commandment that they were breaking. Now let's read through the text. Quote, and they walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel, and the kings of Israel, which they had made. So they picked up the statutes from the enemy, and even the king made up statutes different from God's. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their God. And they built them high places. The statute against that is in Deuteronomy 12:2. In all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. And they set them up images. That's one of the commandments. And groves in every high hill. That's one of the statutes, Deuteronomy 12:13. And under every green tree, and there they burned incense in all the high places, as did the heathen whom the Lord carried away before them. And they wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger, and they served idols. That's the commandment, whereof the Lord had said to them, ye shall not do this thing. Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, turn ye from your evil ways, and keep my commandments and my statutes according to all the law, which I commanded your fathers, and which I sent to you by the servants the prophets. Notwithstanding, they wouldn't hear, but hardened their necks, like the neck of their fathers. They did not believe in the Lord their God, and they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he testified against them. Can you imagine people rejecting his statutes? If you can, you know exactly what was going on. And they followed vanity and became vain, and went after the heathen that were around about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them that they should not do like them. Statute, Deuteronomy 7:12. And they left all the commandments of the Lord their God, and made them molten images, even 2 calves, that's a commandment, made a grove, statute, Deuteronomy 12:13, and worshipped all the hosts. Why is this important? Why am I slowing down to read all these things to you? Because we must not follow in the footsteps of failure. That's why it's recorded. A few more verses and then on to other things. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire.